All right, what is up, Max Challenge world? Welcome to another episode of the Max Factor. This week we have a new friend, but I'd like to call him a good friend, even though he's a practically brand new friend. His name is Bryan Dalmaso, and in one short talk, he helped me look at things in my business, and really even more than just my business, my life, in a completely new perspective. And I thought, I got to get this guy on the Max Factor because he is going to provide just a wealth of information to our listeners. So, welcome, Bryan.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Thanks for having me. Like I said, when you and I connected, it was instant resonance. We chatted for quite a while, and it was just I could tell right away that you were of a very deep thinker, obviously very successful. So your results would say that you understand this information, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. So, let's just jump right into this because, I'm sure a lot of people who are listening are like, what is this information? One of the things that I think is probably one of the areas of fantastic place to start is what is a wealth mindset? What is it, and how do people master the wealth mindset?
Sure. I mean, a wealth mindset. First of all, a lot of people think is money, and it really has very little to do with money. When we talk about the wealth mindset, it's the whole human experience. It's understanding love and family and friendships and physical fitness, spirituality, and then yeah, finances is a piece of it. But the finances is the easiest thing to fix if somebody's got issues. It's harder for somebody to understand the spiritual side of things. And you got to remember, I'm a mechanical engineer, so every single thing in this universe has a spirit or an energy side of it before it could ever be a physical thing. And I can give you some examples if you'd like. So we talk about the wealth mindset. It's really the whole human experience. I like to model Richard Branson. I mean, that's my goal, right? Somebody that lives life to the fullest. He's a philanthropist, very spiritual, obviously very creative, and helps a lot of people. So that's at least my opinion of what the wealth mindset is.
So, people who are, let's say, just starting a business, a lot of our listeners are people who are interested in starting their own business, making a life change, and I think a lot of them have been thinking about making a change for an extended period of time, but then something holds them back, even though they know in their hearts that this is the direction they want to go in. What do you think holds people back from taking action towards their dreams and their goals?
That's a great question. The beautiful part is we know exactly what holds them back. It's not We don't have to guess or wonder anymore. There's science and physics behind this, and the thing that holds anybody back, including myself for 43 years, I like to say that I was rowing the same boat of ignorance for 43 years. But what holds anybody back is a paradigm. And what a paradigm is, it's a set of mental programs stored in the subconscious mind that controls all the habitual behavior. So it's your subconscious programming. It's like the operating system in a computer. And this subconscious programming, for most people, it wasn't chosen by them. When we're born, we can't choose where we're born, the environment. So it's all environmental programming that goes right into the subconscious mind that in the later years controls all of your habitual behavior. And this is why people, babies that grow up in a smoking environment, they tend to smoke. If their parents are both very physically active and that's what they see, well, they tend to be physically active. If the parents are eating unhealthy, then it's that's why you just see it kind of breed generational. And I have a really good example that explains paradigm and environment. And Brian, I can do this with you. You and I are well, you're a little younger than me, but if I was to take you instead of growing up the way you did with your family and everything like that, and there's nothing wrong with the way you grew up. Um, and instead, we put you in the environment of you were Warren Buffett's son, and you grew up, the last 40 years or whatever that way with that environment. And I don't know Warren Buffett, but at least financially, being in that environment, where do you imagine you'd be right now? Right. So
Yeah.
it's not hard to see if you take a baby and put them in one environment, if you take the same exact baby, put it in a different environment, all that programming goes right into the subconscious mind. So we have a program called walking, right? That was information that we learned consciously that got programmed into the subconscious, and now you don't have to think to walk. You don't have to think to eat. Well, we can program the subconscious mind. First of all, we can strip away limiting beliefs, very scientifically, and then we can program in things like wealth building or physical fitness or relationships, whatever you want. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. So, it might have been you last time that we talked that pointed out that when you become self-aware as to your beliefs, and then you really start to question, where did I get those beliefs, and then take it a step further. Do these beliefs serve me and the person that I want to become and the goals that I want to reach? Does it become possible, I guess what you're saying is it does become possible to change your beliefs from the inside out and then ultimately change the results that you're getting in life?
Yeah, it's absolutely not only is it possible when you understand this stuff, it's you can do exactly what you want. It's almost like the movie The Matrix, where they plug in Neo and he downloads information, and then he knows kung fu, right? Anything that can be programmed into the subconscious mind can be programmed out and then reprogrammed through the spaced repetition of emotionalized ideas, and even things like PTSD or depression. People aren't born with PTSD, so that the evidence states that that gets programmed in by environmental stimulus over time. Now, what people need to realize and have hope with is, even if they don't know how, if they seek out the information and work with somebody that does know how, they can unprogram that and program back in whatever they want. Like, have a loving, caring, peaceful. We call it mastering the art of remaining calm, right? You can eliminate fear, doubt, and worry. And if you don't have fear, doubt, and worry, then you don't have stress. And if you don't have stress, you don't have the physical form of anxiety. And if you don't have anxiety, you don't lead to depression. That's just a chain of the transmutation of energy to and through the mind and through the body into what people call depression and anxiety. So when we work with people, we're able to just choke it off at the source, show them how the mind body works, and teach them how to use the spaced repetition of content over time to rewire their subconscious mind. I know that sounds very robotic, but it's really not. It's just we're not given a user's manual to our body when we're born, and we're not taught this stuff in school. So it's no wonder why 93% of people get to the retirement age and they can't retire. Right? So if we look at that one statistic, that would state that we're not educating the masses with the right materials. Otherwise, 93% of the people would get to retirement and they'd be able to retire without having to take second jobs.
Yep. So let's say in the example of somebody that's looking to lose weight or get in better shape, change their health, but they just keep doing the same habits over and over. They set the goal and they just keep. They even go to the gym for a week, but the old self, the old habits start showing up again in their daily routine. Is it just a matter of becoming more self-aware?
It's a matter of understanding what's going on. I mean, if somebody, let's say somebody's 40 years old and they're not used to going to the gym, it's not a habit. I mean, what is a habit? Right? A habit is the stored program in the subconscious mind. You have the habit of smoking. Some people have the habit of wealth building. I've been going to the gym since I was 15 because I was scrawny in high school and I wanted to chase the ladies, right? So I had a motivating factor that was a paradigm shift that started me going to the gym. Well, it only takes, I don't know, people have different theories on how many days it takes to make a habit, but basically what happened is I've been going to the gym and eating healthy ever since, and I'm 48 years old now. So if somebody does want to release weight, and we say release instead of lose because the subconscious mind is very literal. It's not the thinking mind. The conscious mind is the emotional mind. So when we say, I got to lose 5 pounds, well, what happens to things that we lose, right? We try to find them. So the subconscious mind, all it hears is lose weight. Well, I'm going to try and find it again. And that's why people yo-yo, because even the terminology they're using is not cohesive with how our mind-body connection works. So understanding this, if somebody's gone 20 or 30 years one way, what we need to do is consciously overwrite or overrule the paradigm for a period of time. So somebody that wants to go to the gym and release weight, they'd have to understand you're going to have to force yourself to do this very mechanically and physically. I would say get a partner, get an accountability partner, and you're going to have to do it for like 90 to 120 days. And then it'll become a habit because you're trying to overrule the past 40 years of not going to the gym. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
Yes.
You know what? It actually gets me pumped up and excited because every day at the Max Challenge, we have new people enrolling, telling us ahead of time, I'm not a morning person. I'm really not 100% sure I'm going to be able to. And, through the encouragement and through the motivation, they go for one complete week. And at the end of the week, it's such a sense of accomplishment that brings them back the next Monday. But the crazy thing is, it's exactly what you're telling all of us. It's what you're saying is clearly explaining what's happening to people at the Max Challenge, because after about 3 weeks, those same people that said they weren't morning people or they're not workout people or they're not healthy eaters, they classify themselves one way,
Hmm.
literally come in like 3 4 weeks later and they're like, I, I don't know what it is, but I can't do without getting up in the morning and working out now. When I'm on vacation and I get up in the morning after I'm automatically waking up at 4:50, by 5 a.m. I'm going for a walk, for a jog. I'm
Yeah.
using the hotel workout room. I never did this before. Who am I becoming? So I see exactly what you're saying, beyond a shadow of a doubt that this would work for anybody that applied this formula to their life.
Yeah, well, that's the beautiful part. It's not really open to interpretation. It's almost like you hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I believe in the law of attraction." If we get into the universal laws and how this stuff all works with the laws of nature, it's like, "Oh yeah, I believe in the law of attraction." And I hear that, and it's like saying, "Well, yeah, I believe in gravity." Right? These are what we're talking about here is the physics and the science behind how human beings operate between their conscious and their subconscious mind. So when we're working with this material, um, people don't know why they don't do the things they know they're supposed to do. Like people know they're supposed to eat healthy. Not many people alive know that, don't know that, right? But then you still see them pounding down 2 liters of soda every night, and then they have diabetes at age 35, right? But they knew all along that the soda was killing them. It's not that they don't know. And what happens, Brian, is they have the information in the conscious mind, but it's not in the subconscious mind. We always got to remember that the subconscious mind is physically driving the body into action. So that's the difference. We can read books, we can study things. I know some brilliant people that don't accomplish much because all the information is floating around in the conscious mind. Does that make sense?
Makes total sense.
Good.
So when these beliefs, right? So let's say you grew up in a family that wasn't health conscious,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you reshape your internal programming, because I believe that's kind of, maybe I'm phrasing it different, but that's what
No,
you're
that's it.
saying is
You got it. You got it.
you're erasing the hard drive and you're reprogramming with this new paradigm or computer program that's telling you, you know, you're going to get up every day, you're going to be healthy, exercise, eat nutritiously. Do you find that people tend to slip back and relapse sometimes at this old? It's not really erasing the old software, but just kind of like writing over it, and that this old software could kind of come back into their lives from time to time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, understanding this, the paradigms are extremely strong. And I'll give you an example of why they're so strong. So, when you were a baby, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 year old, and even through, we go to school, right? We go to grade school, high school, and they're teaching a little bit of math, a little bit of English, a little bit of science. They're basically teaching you to be a teacher. And that gets really written in pretty deep. And the reason that is because the conscious mind has the ability to process about 40 bits of information per second. Now, the subconscious mind processes about 4 million bits per second. So it's a million times more powerful as a data storage center. And when we're growing up in the early years, we have no ability to reject information. And as we get older, we read some books, some things happen, we bump into those people, we start to use our conscious mind more, which does have the ability to accept or reject information. But the conscious mind, when we get a new idea, like, you know what, enough's enough, I'm 100 pounds overweight, I'm going to hit the gym. Well, that's a conscious thought. Now you get to try and overwrite something that's a million times more powerful, which is the subconscious mind, which has the old programming of the bad eating habits. That's why it's so hard. And the only trigger mechanism we can go to is desire. So you got to tie it to something bigger than I just want to go to the gym. It's tie it to your kids. You got young kids, and you want to be around for when they get married. You want to be able to go on vacation in your 60s and still go scuba diving. I mean, we only have one body. I call it being trapped in an invisible prison. Imagine 60 years old because of not making choices that are healthy, that you're trapped in this body and you got your kids and your grandkids, but you're in a wheelchair or you got diabetes because of a series of thousands of days of bad micro decisions. So you gotta look into the future and get emotionally involved in the idea of, if you keep doing what you're doing, that's called the slight edge, on a daily basis, what's that going to lead to? Right? And then everything magnifies over time. So the same thing with investing. You don't have to invest $5,000 a week. If you invest $50 a week over 40 years, you'll be a millionaire. It's that magnification. So it's with diet. It's really with everything. And I'm sure you see this in your industry all the time. But to answer your question, yeah, it can be extremely hard to overwrite that programming. And we teach people to really look at, well, what do you want? If somebody's having a hard time getting a relationship, well, tie it to that, because you attract what you are. You can't be a dude, 60, 70 pounds overweight and then trying to attract a Playboy model. We attract what we are. So the biggest thing here, Brian, no matter what anybody's struggling with, is to tie it to something really, really emotional, and that'll help you. It'll help you to cement that decision every day when you wake up.
That makes total sense. I think sometimes in weight loss, as an example, when people come in and they say, if I could only lose 5 pounds or 10 pounds, when you put it in perspective, losing 5 pounds or 10 pounds is not enough to get most people out of the bed, for something in the morning to get to a 5 a.m. workout class.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So what I try to encourage people to do, if they don't really have a why of their own, is I say, look, like if you have kids, our kids are part of the first generation that's expected to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents.
Mm.
Cancer, stroke, diabetes, heart disease, all these things, they're killing the kids, the next generation. And we have the ability to set an example and literally put an end to it. So when I know for me, and when my alarm clock goes off in the morning, it's not about getting up and going to the gym for myself anymore. It's about getting up and setting an example for my children and all the other kids in the next generation that really need healthy role models to follow.
Well, that's a perfect example, Brian. That's really you being very aware of what you're impacting. Your kids, again, they don't have the ability to accept or reject information. Whatever it is you're doing, by and large, they're going to do the same thing unless there's a pattern interrupt with something that comes into the life. But I mean, history shows that most times generations repeat generations. Welfare is generationally, it goes on, and same with wealth, right? But for the most part, unless somebody has a paradigm shift, a traumatic incident, or a mentor comes into their life, or they have about 1 out of 1 million people has just an innate, you know, the Michael Jordans or the Oprah Winfreys or the Warren Buffetts, Thomas Edison. They're just kind of born and they have that, but it's only like 1 in 1 million. But for the rest of us, the beautiful truth is we can learn this stuff. If somebody has a desire, that's all you need. They don't have to know the how, because we know the how. If they have a desire to change, we can learn the same principles and the same thought patterns as like a Henry Ford or somebody of that nature.
Talking in terms of business, when it comes to sales, there's so many people that want to be business people,
Mm-hmm.
that take action. They become business people. It's almost mind-boggling in that they may lay down $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 to open up a gym or some retail business. But then when it comes to actually doing the sales that you need, it's just logic, right? Like a business without sales is not a business at all.
Exactly.
They got all this money on the line, yet something is holding them back from asking another person for money. Can a person change such a deep-rooted belief that these people must have something, internally that's making it so fearful for them to? I think personally that it's fear of rejection, fear of hearing no.
Mm-hmm. No, we can absolutely change that, Brian. And what I like to do sometimes is come back on another podcast on a video session if we can, maybe on a Zoom, because we have a graphical representation of what goes on from the conscious mind to the subconscious to the body. And what people need to understand is we are conduits for energy, and that's not a metaphor. We literally transmute energy to and through us at all times, and that's just straight science. So it really depends on what we're feeding. Now, this is where it might sound ethereal when it's actually physics, because there's a positive and negative side to everything. That's the law of polarity, right? And what people are doing in that scenario, they get emotionally involved in the idea of the gym, and it's a good feeling. And if so, they purchase the gym, make a conscious decision. When they wake up the next day, it's like, well, how am I gonna? They have fear, doubt, and worry. Like, what am I gonna do now? How am I gonna sell this? And they start to feed fear instead of feeding faith. Right now, either way, it's a choice, and that's what people don't know. Either way, fear doesn't exist until you feed energy to it, and we're programmed to do that though through society and everything around us. Right? You look on the news and the TV, and everything's just it's all bad, and everything's just going to hell in a handbasket. So we're kind of programmed to do this, but that's really what's going on. So when we work with somebody in sales, we condition them to no longer have doubt and worry, right? I mean, the fact of the matter is they own a gym. That's the outside stimulus. You own a gym and you need to fill it. So when we're reaching out to people for sales, we got to get to the point of view where we disconnect from results. And we fear things like talking to people, which is just ridiculous. And that's brought back from, that's a whole nother podcast, but we bring these things. I mean, human beings are meant to talk to each other. Literally, right? We're meant to communicate, but we fear it. And so to answer your question, we can absolutely recondition that just by showing people what's going on. What is the fear mechanism in their mind? Why are they feeding that channel of doubt and worry, which leads to fear, which leads to anxiety? Now, anxiety produces procrastination, and that's what happens, and they don't pick up the phone, right? But if they learn how to feed faith through knowledge, it puts a body into action. And when you have action and acceleration, it feels good, right? When I say feeling, what I'm really saying is it's the conscious awareness of the vibration we're in. So if you tell me you feel sad or you feel depressed, what you're saying is I'm consciously aware that I'm in a low vibration. So if we feel excited and prosperous or excited and exuberant, what you're saying is I'm consciously aware that I'm in a high vibration. So when we teach people sales, and when we teach this all over the world, we teach people to remain only in a high vibration and only feed the positive faith-based side of the equation. And that ultimately has to, by law, lead to good results.
This seems to make total sense. And the one piece that I'm unclear on, and there might be some listeners that could benefit from this as well, I'd imagine. Does everybody, do you get to a point when you master these skills and it becomes part of your daily routine? Do you get to a point where you absolutely never have fear, doubt, and worry, or do you just recognize more readily when you're in a state of low vibration, and then are you just more well equipped to bring yourself out of that state?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And again, we're not robots, so it's the second answer. What happens is it's not that I don't have fear, doubt, or worry, but now it's down to it's probably immeasurable. My mind-body connection, I don't. If I recognize a thought, I'm able to just stop, just replace it, and that's really what it is. So it's a really good question. It's not that I won't have fear, especially if you're trying something new. I just know what it is. I know what's going on in the mind-body connection, and I overrule it. And you push forward. You just push forward. You've done this because you wouldn't have the businesses you have if you didn't go, through. We call it a terror barrier. So your results would say that you've already gone through this process many times. And you're right. You're just conditioning the mind to master the art of remaining calm. There's never anything to stress about, not unless a family member is really sick or something traumatic, but certainly not about business. I mean, we're all going somewhere else in the end anyway. So all this stuff that we stress about, being in a traffic jam is, if anybody out there is ever in a traffic jam, guess what? You're in a traffic jam. It is what it is, right? But disintegrating the cells in your body by stressing about it is not a smart decision. And most people just aren't educated in the fact that it's actually their choice. So that was a really good question. And the answer is, yeah, you just condition yourself to not stay there is all.
So I got another one for you. What about when people fall into an emotion or a feeling of apathy, right? Like I heard you say it is what it is, and I know exactly where you're coming from, right? Because if I'm stuck in traffic, it kind of is. It just is what it is, and you got to deal with it. And being angry or frustrated or anxious is not going to solve the issue. So you got to learn how to master your emotions. But I think sometimes people respond inappropriately to things that they are in control of, right? Traffic jam, not in control of. But whether or not I'm producing leads in my business and taking consistent, robust daily action towards the attainment of new business, I'm in control of that. But some people would say, well, it is what it is, and they fall into this state of apathy. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, what you're really talking about is getting into advanced sales now, understanding the vibration you're in. A lot of people think vibration is ethereal. It's a universal law, the universal law of vibration. It's a primary law, and attraction responds to the primary law of vibration. So we got to understand when we have a business and we're selling or prospecting, if we're in a low vibration, if we're feeling angry or sad or like, I got to prospect again, you're putting your mind in a low vibration. Well, other people that you're trying to prospect, they can feel that, right?
Mm,
Feeling is vibration. It's a conscious awareness of vibration. And human beings are electromagnetic beings. So the law of attraction is a universal principle, just like electricity, magnetism. And what do you think? That's what magnetism is. Like the reason why magnets stick to each other is they're on the same frequency, right? So human beings are no different. We are electromagnetic beings. So when you're in sales, and everybody out here has done this, sometimes you just meet somebody and it feels good to be around them. And you don't know why. Well, it's attraction, it's vibration. And then other people you meet for the first time and you just, I don't want to be around that dude anymore. Well, that's because they're in a low vibration and you're in a high vibration. It's like mixing oil and water, things that are of different molecular states. So when it comes to sales, it's very important to understand this because you only want to prospect in a high vibration. Our thought waves travel about the speed of light, 186,300 miles per second. So when you're picking up the phone talking to somebody, your thoughts are traveling to that other person from one electronic switching station, which is your brain, to another one faster than the phone signals are. Now, this is probably going to lose some people because it's getting into physics and science, but that's the deal. That's what sales is. So when you understand this stuff and you can just constantly be calm and in a high vibration, you'll actually make more sales because it's going to feel good to the other person to be around you, and they won't even know why, but they just want more of that. Like, I don't know what this dude's selling, but it just feels good to be around
yeah.
them, right?
Anyone who's ever sold anything knows this,
Mm.
but I think anyone who's ever even bought anything on some level knows this. There's certain businesses that that I frequent. I'm like, why am I going to this place week after week? But it's exactly that. It meshes. The people there are very positive,
Hmm.
and their intention is in alignment with my need.
Yeah. Well, think about this one. People go, I went to that club and the vibe was good. We say this stuff all the time. It's got a good vibe. Like, what does that mean? It means the energy in the room for the combined spirits of the people there feels good. Now, we two different people could go into two different clubs. Like, we could go down to the Shrine at Foxwoods, and it could be jamming in there with techno music, and I might be like, "This is awesome. This is my vibe," and you might be like horrified, right? So that's just you and I on different frequencies with our thought patterns resonate with the vibe in that environment. Does that make sense?
Makes
Yeah.
I mean, that makes total sense. Would you call it, like, in the Max Challenge, we pride ourselves on having a really strong
Hmm.
culture, and we
Mm.
define it very clearly. But even more so than that, we make sure that we exemplify the culture, and probably even more so than that, part of what's really, I think, fueled our growth to this point and beyond as well is the fact that we look for other people that have, in their heart and in their mind, the same inner drive to produce the same results, which is to help people be happier
Hmm.
and healthier at the core. And when you team with people who really do believe in their hearts and at their core, and exemplify those beliefs daily, it becomes sort of an unstoppable force, because you're not taking a bunch of squares and putting them in a round hole.
Hmm.
Everyone's working together in the same direction, and I kind of think that's what you're talking about. It's something that I've
Oh,
experienced where,
absolutely. We could go into every one of your locations and you could tell the success of the business by the energy of the owner. We attract what we are, and even the vibe or the energy or the experience when somebody comes into the gym, even little things like, is it clean or not? Is the music, you know, at a pretty good volume or not? People smiling or not, right? Smile is expression. It's an emotion, and emotion is energy in motion. So even the staff, if they're one way or another, is going to make the difference to the people coming in. It's not going to feel good to come in, or it's going to feel good. So everything you're talking about, Brian, culture is what keeps people. You might be able to sell somebody into the gym, but then the culture and the environment and the feeling that they get is going to be what keeps them over time, and they won't even know why. Some people might even go there, not even work out, just kind of hang around and not do much, but it just feels good to be there, right?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the deal. Yeah.
And I think there's a tremendous opportunity for businesses these days, because so many businesses are just straight up sales focused and
Mm-hmm.
not delivering on their promise, not really doing something that has deep meaning. And that, to me, relates directly to what you're talking about, in that it's the law of attraction, right? And if your only desire is on a sales focus, you might get a lot of sales, but eventually that well is going to dry up.
Hmm.
People are going to see it for what it is. It's not going to be exciting. But when you're really operating from the core and your intent is, coming from this very deep place, the law of attraction puts out this fantastic energy that just, it's like the people who say, I can't find good employees, but yet the guy right down the street has got an army of people that are like lined up,
Yeah.
dying to work for him.
Yeah.
It starts with the guy or the lady at the top and the energy that they are putting out into the world.
Oh, of course. Every great corporation in the world always comes to one person, right? Even it could be General Electric. Well, you look up and there's Jack Welch back in the day when I was working there. Apple Corporation was Steve Jobs, and so even in a small gym like that, it's always going to go to the top person running the gym to put out the energy and to be cognizant of what's going on inside of that environment. 'Cause that's a gym that's what it is. It's an environment, right? So all these things that we're talking about, they do trickle from the top down. And if you have a bunch of, excuse my French, shitty employees, then we need to look in the mirror because we attract what we are. Magnetism, right?
It's true.
And
I
you
believe in that
yeah,
110%. And I could tell you, even this short discussion that we had just now, I'm taking away so much. And I am, gonna, when we're done with this, and it's public, I'm gonna forward this to so many people
mm,
because I feel like this information is just, literally like this information for people that use it, it's priceless. You could take this information and turn an idea into reality and just completely turn your life around, or
mhm.
take it to new levels of excellence that people have never before thought possible. So I, for one, thank you, Bryan, for sharing this information.
Sure.
And I want to give you a chance. Tell people, if they want more information, if they want to connect with you, learn more, where would they go to do that?
Sure, there's a few ways, and we actually just created something several months ago that we're really proud of. It's called the Matrix Mindset Academy, and the tagline is "No one left behind." So obviously, we work with corporations and CEOs and entrepreneurs. We do some one-on-one high-level coaching and that stuff. But we created something. I think it's something like 67 cents a day, and it's free for 30 days. They can check it out. Matrix Mindset Academy. It's a Facebook program, so you can just look it up on Facebook and then request to join it, and then my staff will reach out to you and go through the rest of it. But it's a good way if this stuff resonates with anybody, just to get to know us a little better. And like I said, we really created that because I don't want to say frustrated, but how do you get to 43 years old as an engineer and architect, but then, fairly what I call American broke, twice divorced, without getting any of this information in this country, right? So we created this to get the information out to the masses and made it, you know, just affordable that you could be on a park bench and collect cans to do it. So if somebody wants to learn more about us, I would go to the Matrix Mindset Academy. And of course, they go to the Matrix Success Network website and look us up.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, thanks again, Bryan, and I truly appreciate this, and I look forward to connecting again.
Yeah, thanks again, Brian, for having me on today. Appreciate the opportunity, and hopefully that helps some of your business owners and some of the people out there that are listening.
Undoubtedly, it will.
All right, be
Thanks
well, my
again.
friend. Take care.
All right.